Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of our England series. So we're going to jump back in the past a little bit, and we're going to talk about a foolish promise that Edward made back when he sent Godwin in exile. So while Edward was having his little happy Godwin free vacation, he had some friends come visit him from Normandy, particularly the most important, the Duke himself, William. And here's his statue here. He looks very stately, but of course we need our stick figure version. So here we go. Well, while William was visiting him, Edward just flat out promised him that he was going to be king next. So why did he do this? Wouldn't Edward just choose his own son? Well, the problem is Edward didn't have a son, actually. He and Edith never had children. And so it wasn't exactly sure who was going to be king next. Some people thought his grandnephew Edgar would be king next, but that wasn't very likely. Most people thought that it was probably going to be Godwin's son Harold, because a lot of people liked him. He was really good at leading the army. He was just generally really good at ruling. But Edward didn't really like that because he doesn't like Godwin. So he thought, William would be a great king. I mean, he was William's cousin after all. It made sense, right? Well, no, it didn't, because Edward was not supposed to name his successor. It was the custom at that time that the English nobles would choose who was going to be king next. But he did it anyway, and it was going to cause a lot of trouble. And, of course, we know that Godwin ended up coming back. And that completely ruined any of Edward's ideas of William becoming king, so he probably just forgot about the promise altogether. But the trouble started about 12 years down the road, when Harold goes on a voyage. Except the funny thing is we really don't know why he went on a voyage. History sometimes is like two people fighting. You're going to have different sides of the story, and everybody's going to try to paint themselves as a good guy, right? So one version of why he went on this voyage is that he was going to go pledge homage to William, which means basically he's saying, I'm your servant. I don't think that's very likely, but that's my opinion. Version 2 is that he was going to Normandy to find some lost relatives that had been hostages there for a while. And version number 3 is he was just having a fishing and hunting trip. Whatever the case, we know Harold got in a boat, and a storm blew up, and he ended up getting blown way off course. He started at Bosham and got blown all the way to Ponthieu. And the count of that province, a guy named Guy, that sounds funny, a guy named Guy. Anyway, instead of helping Harold when he saw he crash landed, he threw him in jail. Yeah, nice. Well, William hears about this, and he's in charge of Count Guy, and he tells Count Guy to hand Harold over to him instead. So he lets Harold go, and he stays with William for a couple months. And William's really nice to him and everything, but in reality, Harold's still a prisoner. So while he passes his time there, he decides to go to war with William, and they go and fight against the Bretons, which are people from a place called Brittany in France. And the Bretons were rebelling against William, so Harold went to go help William fight them. And while Harold was there, he actually saved 2 of William's soldiers out of quicksand, and William knighted him for the deed. And eventually William let him go, but first he made him swear an oath that he would be his servant. But why would William have Harold swear to be his servant? Well, Edward might have forgotten the promise he made to William, but William certainly didn't forget it. And he knows the power that Harold holds back in England, and as long as Harold holds that power, he knows that that takes away his chance at being king. So if he gets Harold to swear to be his servant, then Harold can't be king. Simple enough. And some people say not only did Harold swear this oath, but he swore it on the holy relics. So, what's a holy relic? Well, It's an object. It can be a piece of wood, a piece of cloth, sometimes even a bone. And people think it's holy just because it belonged to some saint or Jesus touched it or something ridiculous like that. But if you swear an oath on them, it makes it very binding. And they say that Harold didn't swear on the relics on purpose. They think that William hid them under the table that he put his hand on. Dirty deed there. But this makes the oath very serious because it's a bad thing to break an oath made on the relics. It will get you into a lot of trouble. Anyway, after Harold makes this oath, William lets him go home. And he's super happy because he knows that he's going to be king next. At least, so he thinks. But we'll find out more. So, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for episode 4.